Good evening. We're going to follow on from our talk on Sunday, on Advent Sunday, second Sunday of Advent, on the theme of love. Love was born at Christmas time, or Love Came Down at Christmas Time was my title. If you remember, I began with introduction about my concern when I became a father, that now that I had a son, because there was alcohol abuse, addiction in my wider family among the males, I was concerned that my son might become an alcoholic. And I approached two, in fact, not one, but two Christian men one Sunday. One was called Tom, who had come to know Jesus, but both were alcoholic addicts in their background. And you remember what Tom said to me on this regard. And I want you to discuss this for a second. When I asked him, what might I do? He said, Clem, if you love your son, if you tell him that you love him, and if you demonstrate to him that you love him, he will not become an alcoholic. Discuss that for a few minutes, and then we'll pick it up again. Well, the Christian worldview, the gospel, the scriptures talk about that we are made by God in love, for love, to know love. God is love. And therefore the essence of our being as Homo sapiens is to know love and be connected with the one who is love. And that surely is all important. Second thing I want you to talk about just early on is this idea of Advent and the liturgical calendar. I mentioned that Advent and the second Sunday of Advent is like a bookmark in our lives, gets us to pause and think about something. I wonder if you celebrate any of these kind of liturgical feasts and over the year, and share that with one another and have a chat about how Advent could be something positive in your life this Christmas. Passage to last Sunday was from 1 John 4, verses 7 to 12. What I'd like you to do now as a group is to read it twice, maybe even 3 times, slowly. 1 John 4, verses 7 to 12. Try and notice the context of which it sits, and then maybe discuss your initial reactions. Obviously, the key verse in there is verse 9, and I'd like you to focus on that and reflect on that together for a few minutes. So 1 John 4, verse 9 says, "This is how God showed his agape love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him." Talked about the New Testament has 4 words in Greek to describe this one word, love, that we have in English. Here I said it was agape is the word used. Do you remember the other 3? We referred to C.S. Lewis's The Four Loves. So can you pick them out? Well, in the New Testament, the word love is translated by 4 different words, depending on the context and the meaning. Here in 1 John 4, verse 9, love is translated of the Greek word agape. But you also have the word eros. You also have the word Philadelphia, philia, and storge. I said that love complicates God, and if God has a problem, if he ever has a problem, is that he loves. How did I explain the Christmas story, Jesus being born in a stable in Bethlehem, that it had to happen that way because of this problem God has? So we have Kierkegaard's story, didn't we, of the king turning up in the woods to win the hand of the maiden and having to come in a way that wouldn't complicate her accepting him or rejecting him. And that was, I said, of us. God became like one of us to win our hand. I took us to Philippians chapter 2, verses 7 and following. Have a look at those verses again and just reflect, and maybe pause this time and pray and thank Jesus in the light of those particular verses. By way of conclusion, I had 2 short applications for us. The first one came from 1 Peter 4, verse 7, which says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, because love comes from God." And to reflect on, inasmuch as we know the love of God, we are able to love others. And I mentioned Dallas Willard's comment that the hallmark of Christian maturity with how well we love our enemies. Discuss that for a second, and then I have one other thought for you. And finally, I encourage us to take this Advent season, the second Sunday Advent, to allow ourselves some space and those we love some space to reflect on God, and particularly on his love for us. So I hope you can put that in the diary and work on that together. All the best.